We've come to a point in terms of smartphones where progress and innovation seem to have peaked. The phones we have already produce great pictures from their cameras, have batteries that last at least a day, are slim enough that any more slimming and the batteries would need to be laughably small. So what gives? Do we need to upgrade every year? The answer for most people is absolutely not. Do phone manufacturers need to innovate and bring out new models every year? Most certainly. The S21 Ultra fixes things rather than reinvent the game. It's coming after the S20 Ultra, a phone that went overboard with its extravagance and ultimately didn't deliver on its core promises. Big resolution camera sensors, high refresh rate displays, and a really massive battery couldn't help it from delivering on these counts. In fact, it was almost embarrassing to see the normal S20 and Plus phones delivering better photos under certain conditions and being recommended over the Ultra by many experts. Well, the S21 Ultra does one thing right from the start. Whatever complaint you may have had about its predecessor, it addresses those issues. It may not be able to fundamentally change its performance on certain counts, but it certainly makes an effort. So allow me to take you into a deep dive from a regular, totally unsponsored real-world user's perspective on how it fares on different counts. Let's start with the design, an area that is highly subjective and open to interpretation by whoever's looking at it. One thing I will say from the start, this is a heavy phone. At 228 grams, it's equaled only by the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Also, the weight distribution of the phone is not right, especially if you use it without a case. The humongous camera module combined with the really long and tall design means that it's always tipping over towards the top. Putting a case certainly makes it better balanced, besides providing the necessary protection. Some may prefer the phantom black color, and that's absolutely fine, but personally, I'm a big fan of this phantom silver variant. It's unique and quite different from the usual phone colors that we get, and the silver camera module combines well with the color shifting glass back of the phone. All the buttons are on one side, so there's absolutely nothing on the left. This can take some getting used to initially, but over time I prefer this arrangement, and it's easy to use the volume buttons when watching videos in the landscape mode. Apart from that, you get a few more antenna lines, and the speaker and the microphone arrangement is similar to Samsung Galaxy phones of the past. In fact, if you're familiar with any Samsung flagship phone from the past few years, this will all be familiar stuff. No radical redesign here like the angular iPhone 12 family, but it's the usual glass sandwich that feels and looks good as usual. By the way, you do get two physical SIM card slots, but the micro SD card slot is gone. So choose your storage as per your needs, as there is no way to add more storage later on. This is the world's best smartphone display, bar none, iPhones included. It is 6.8 inches diagonally, meaning it's big enough to binge watch Netflix or this YouTube channel. It's also WQHD plus resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. In fact, thanks to LTPO tech, it can ramp up and down from just 10Hz when displaying static content to 120Hz when you need to move stuff across the screen. Really, this phone's display is the precursor to what's coming soon, and this refresh rate is all set to become mainstream. A note here on this year's iPhone displays. It's great that they've ditched LCD panels all across the range and embraced OLED technology. However, the hues that they have chosen for their phones are less than perfect. The displays are simply too warm and come across as yellowish. I've done a comparison video where I look at the humble 828p iPhone 11 LCD panel versus the iPhone 12, and it's not a pretty sight. Although it's difficult to reproduce this on camera, it clearly shows that even the iPhone 11 panel looks whiter and more vibrant than the iPhone 12 family. And the Pro and the Pro Max also have these issues, although the extra brightness does make a slight difference. Do check out that video for the details, links in the description. Well, it looks like Apple can take a leaf out of Samsung's book this year, as the S21 Ultra puts every other display to shame. It is really great, and even with the eye comfort shield enabled, the display never feels painfully yellow. Once again, if display quality is your primary requirement, look no further. This is the best in the world. One UI is smooth, good looking and fast. It is perhaps the most feature-rich operating system on any phone, and you can customize it in a million ways. What I like to do is minimize distractions. So I've turned off unnecessary notifications and only installed the apps I really use. One UI gives you both an in-display fingerprint scanner that is larger and more reliable this year, as well as face unlock. Decidedly less secure than Apple's Face ID, but just as convenient. And Samsung allows you to use both to unlock the phone. This is the perfect pandemic solution. Unlock with a swipe when not wearing a mask and use the fingerprint scanner when wearing one, or authenticating within apps. Apple is bringing out auto unlock when wearing an Apple Watch and a mask, but nothing beats having both types of authentication methods at your disposal. Really, you have to spend time customizing one UI to your preferences if you wish to have a fuss-free experience. This is unlike iOS that is already set up for ease of use, and you can leave a lot with it to its default settings. In fact, that simplicity is what keeps me from switching over to Android, especially since I use other Apple products. But this is unlikely to be news for you, and if you're considering this phone, you've either already weighed your options or are firmly in the Android camp. Well, either way, One UI is a modern and good looking OS that is feature rich and will only aid you in your daily usage, and unlike TouchWiz of old, will not come in the way as long as you take the first few days tweaking it to your liking. One of the biggest improvements over last year is to do with the heart of the matter, the SoC. For most markets, it's the Exynos 2100 this time round. This is a 5nm chip that's plenty fast enough for most people. Recent tests have shown that it is not as good as the Snapdragon variant. This is nothing new. Do I wish they had one SoC for the whole world? Most certainly. Does having the Exynos 2100 feel like a handicap? Definitely not. It's a very fast and fluid experience, and when combined with the copious amounts of RAM on offer, the experience is just as it should be for a flagship phone. So for the average consumer, you can do away with your fears about the SoC and just look forward to enjoying the experience. The cellular performance in terms of signal strength and call quality is generally excellent. I've tested it on at least 2 different networks, and both work really well for cellular calls and Wi-Fi calls. In fact, the Wi-Fi calls are vastly improved over the S10 Plus generation that I owned previously. The speaker and the earpiece are both loud and full sounding. This is the first phone to feature Wi-Fi 6E, and although that in itself will not matter to most people just yet, where I see a noticeable improvement over the iPhone 12 family is the Wi-Fi signal strength and the ability to rejoin a Wi-Fi network. Where my iPhone 12 would drop a weak Wi-Fi signal, the S21 Ultra hangs on to it till distances become silly, and once back in range, it connects without hiccups and quickly to the saved Wi-Fi networks, an area where the iPhone sometimes struggles and needs manually selecting networks at times. The cameras are what most reviews and manufacturers focus on these days, and rightly so. I have an in-depth look at this in another video if you wish to dwell deeper into this, so do check out that video. But basically, there is no competition when it comes to the zoom capabilities of this phone, and the other cameras show subtle and incremental upgrades over their predecessors. Nighttime shots are improved, and the scene optimizer helps by selecting this automatically when the light is low. Similarly, the focus enhancer can help with macro shots, an area where the S21 Ultra is surprisingly capable. iPhones are still better when it comes to video, and I'm less than impressed with the stabilization that the phone offers in its video modes. Okay, now Ultra HD 4K 60 frames per second. So there's nothing here that will take you by surprise except the zoom lenses. They genuinely open up new possibilities for smartphone photography, and in good light the results are fantastic. Now I've done several days worth of real world battery testing with this phone, and my verdict is that it matches the regular iPhone 12 in terms of battery life. This is a 6-hour screen on time phone when used in WQHD plus resolution combined with the 120Hz adaptive refresh rate. Really, I don't see sense in dumbing down these settings. However, if you do choose to bring it down to FHD plus resolution, turn down the refresh rate to 60Hz and turn off the always on display, it will then match the iPhone 12 Pro Max for battery life. And remember, none of those features are on offer with any iPhone, so that is the only way to make a direct comparison. I always use this gorgeous display at its full capability capabilities, and it's sublime to look at. In terms of battery life, the biggest compliment I can give it is that it lasts a complete day with these settings. Sure, it has little in reserve by 11 pm, but that's more than sufficient. This is perhaps the first Samsung flagship that doesn't disappoint when it comes to battery life. Remember to be efficient in your daily Android app usage by installing only what you really use and limiting them to the features that matter. That way, you will not have a rogue app draining the battery in the background, even though there is a feature that warns you of this in the phone's operating system. Small phones are passé. Looking at the latest iPhone 12 mini debacle, it's safe to say that phones nowadays are like Swiss Army knives, and we want them to be big and adaptable to our wearing needs. Really, they are full-fledged computers in our pockets, and we're doing more and more with them. So the S21 Ultra fits this build to the T. It is good looking, has the world's best smartphone display, is fast and fluid, and to top it all, it's actually cheaper than its predecessor. Sure, the cameras are not perfect, and it still has some catching up to do in terms of video shooting and stabilization. But they are amongst the best smartphone cameras anyway. They just haven't made a quantum leap yet, except perhaps with the zoom lenses, and those are extraordinary. So it's easy to recommend this phone to anyone who can afford it. It's really good value in countries where you pay the extra Apple tax and there is a price disparity between different markets. It's also fixed the Achilles heel of Samsung flagship phones, the battery life, and can now comfortably last all day long. Really, it's tied for the best phone in the world alongside the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that is brilliant because you have an equally compelling option on both sides for the first time. Take your pick. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also, please check out the complete playlist of Samsung S21 Ultra videos that talk of many accessories and other aspects, should you decide to get one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one.